the board. So we'll show here, let's go to graphical layout. This board right here, the scoreboard, it's just going to have a label right underneath the score, and then we're going to have one for high score. And we have to have another label that shows the score while you play the game. So this one's score on board. We're going to layout on the top, so we'll just write it out. So we wrap the content, that's good. Then we can, here we try Android, layout, align top. And if it could automatically fill in, and you can just click on it. So align top, and then we're going to align it to the scoreboard. So you can just write scoreboard. Okay, and then center horizontal, we want that to be true, and we don't want it to be aligned to the parent bottom. We don't need this. And we can change this to the margin on the top, because we want it to be a little bit off from the top of the scoreboard. So we can do layout margin top, 45 dp. Next we have to Android gravity center, and basically what this does is it centers the text in the labels, so it stays in the center, doesn't go off to the side and look a little off. We're going to make the text say 0 because that's what the score starts at. Of course, this can be changed later. And then we're going to make the text appearance look small. So here, this is another one where it's kind of strange. You have to copy this word for word. So equals question mark Android colon attr/text appearance small. So that should be good. And Android text size, we don't have an image here, so Android text size is equal to 30 SP. As I said before, SP is the text size and DP is the size for other stuff. All right, so that's that image view, or that's that text view rather. And now we're going to have another text view called the score. And then we'll have a final image view called game over. And then we're going to need some other stuff later, but for now, that's all we're going to need. So here, this one's just going to be called score. Just regular old score. Wrap context. Then we're going to align parent top. Align parent top here. We're going to write true. True. Align parent end and align parent right. So we can actually copy that from somewhere else here. Align parent end, align parent right. So it's nice to copy and paste this stuff instead of doing all that. Okay. True and true. And the Android text will say 0 yet again. And the Android text size will just say be 30 SP, so we don't need that thing. Actually, we have the high score on board. I skipped that, my apologies. So that's going to be very simple. We can literally just copy this one exactly, this score on board. We just got to change a couple numbers around. So I'm going to forget some stuff, so please bear with me. Again, if you have any questions, make sure to ask them. So here, instead of margin top, it's going to be margin bottom, and it's going to be 90 dp. And we're going to change this to high score on board. And it's going to be ID scoreboard true, 19 dp. Okay, wonderful. Now we have one last image view. Okay, and this one is just the game over. And then we can go on to do some actual other stuff, because this is kind of getting boring, I know. It is very tedious to just keep doing this over and over again. So this one is going to be wrap content. So you can copy and paste that and put that there. And we're going to align it to the top of the logo. So align top, let's find that here. Okay, align top, we'll take that one. And where's game over? Whoops, I put it next to something else. So here, where are we? Text view, image view. Game over. Alright, my bad. So here, you can say this. Whoops, that's not even right. Align parent top. Or align top. And this is going to be at the logo. The ID of the logo. And it's going to be centered horizontally. So we could just copy that and instead replace it with horizontally or horizontal. So line center vertical, we make that horizontal. And we can make the margin on the bottom 33 dp. So we copy this. 33 dp. And the drawable is just going to be game over, and we can delete everything else. Alright, so then we'll go to the graphical layer and see what everything looks like. Make sure we have everything good. So here it is. Here's game over on the top. There's Zaggy. There's the retry button and the play button. They're both on top of each other, but that doesn't matter because they're not going to be shown at the same time. Here are the score labels. They're kind of off for some reason, but we'll figure that out later. And everything else looks pretty good. So now we can go into the game activity.java and we can start creating the actual code. Alright, so now we're in the game activity Java, and this is where we're going to be writing everything. So up here we're going to do something, but first I want to tell you what onCreate does. So basically this function is going to run whenever we just start the app, and whenever it just starts up, anything inside this function is going to run. Now we don't need to worry about any of these things, so we'll just leave them here, don't touch them, but we can just put them down to this side because we don't need them. Up here we're going to write some stuff out. So we need to declare all the things that we wrote here. All of this stuff, we need to somehow link it up to the code so that we can actually do stuff with it. So here, we're just going to write some things. So here we're going to declare a button, or buttons, and we're going to just write the play button and retry button. And these are the buttons that we create. We only have 2 of them. Now notice button has an error. So if we click on it with the left click, it says, gives an option to import the button. So we're going to do that as we go along. We need to import certain things so that the code knows how to use them. So up here, we'll be able to see all the things we imported, and we'll just have a longer list later. Also here it gives a warning. We can just click on that, and if you ever get a warning, you can click on it and it'll give you some fixes available. So you can just click on that if it gets annoying, and now it won't give the error anymore. Alright, so now we need a text view. So when we write text view, it's going to also go red. So we can import that as well. Well, once we declare something. And the text views we have are score on board, high score on board, and score. And you can separate these all with comma. Alright, and then we can import the text view. Then we have the image view, which is many more. So image view, we have ball, game over, scoreboard, logo. What else do we have? We have the, well, I think that's it besides the pillar. So we can just write pillar 1, comma, copy this, and paste this 9 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we just change the numbers. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Alright, so now we've declared everything else, and we have to import the image view, of course. Oops. Import image view. So now we got everything here, and now we can just start declaring these things as actual and link them up with the things in the XML file. So on create, we're going to need to do something in on create, but if you don't know about Java, Java has some things regarding scope. So what scope is that when you where you declare variables makes them unavailable sometimes to different things. So let's say we declare these variables inside this function right here. If we wanted to use them here, we wouldn't be able to. So we have to declare them out here. And we're actually going to create another function, and this one's going to be called onCreate new. And basically, it's just going to be helping us with scope. So we don't actually declare it inside here. We're just going to make another function here. So we're just going to write protected void on create new. That says voik, and we just want to create it and finish there. So we get no errors here. Protected is another thing with scope. It just means that we'll be able to access everything in here from this class files, which is all we really need. Void just means that it's going to return no values. So basically this function just does stuff. It doesn't give off any values, which is fine for us right now. So we're going to actually declare all of these different things as we're going to link them up to the XML file. So here we're going to link up the play button. So you just write play button, we declare it up here. So it's see when you write it all out, it highlights there so it knows that it's connected there, which is pretty cool. We can make it equal to button find view by ID. Then we write in there r.id.play button. And that should be good. And now look, synced everything up, and bam. Everything looks good. So we can copy this for a replay button or retry button. And we can write retry button. And that should be good. Let's see. Oh, I capitalized it. So don't capitalize things. Make sure you get the capitalization correctly, because or else it's not going to work. And that's basically it. So now we're going to do this for every single one of these things. But I don't think you want to see me do all this, so I'll write it out and I'll cut when I'm done so you can look it over, make sure you have everything. So try to do this on your own. Try to get everything synced up correctly. So here I have everything done. Make sure you have all of this stuff. And yeah, so we actually forgot one thing. For the layout, let's go back into the XML. We're going to give our layout a ID. So we're going to copy this and just put it right here. And we're going to name this just layout. And we're going to need this later just for one minor thing. So there we go. And now here in the top, atop everything else, we can just write relative layout and layout. And we're going to have to import relative layout. So that should be good. And then here, we can just write layout. We can just copy this actually. And we can just write out everything. So relative layout and find view by ID layout. All right. So that's good. So now we have everything, and now we can actually start working on how the game works. So as you know, when the user clicks the play button, the game should start to go. And we need to find a way to recognize when the user clicks the play button. So in onCreate, underneath, well actually here we're going to call onCreateNew. So in order to call the function, we can just write onCreateNew. So that basically means that when this function is called, when the game starts up, all of this will load up and all of this will be linked up together. So underneath this, we're going to write the code that we'll see when the person clicks the button. So we can write play button dot, and then a whole bunch of pops will come up. We can write set on click listener. Now we can just use this first one, I believe, yes. And then inside here, we're going to write new view dot on click listener. On click clicker, not listener. All right, and then after that, we can write a open brace and get rid of this one. There's a weird syntax if you're not familiar to the language. You can write enter. It'll create one, open curly brace. Now inside, we're going to write override. So we're overriding another function, public void on click view v, and we're going to make another curly brace, and here we're going to put a closing parenthesis. So this should all fix itself. So So let's see here. Let's see what the problem is. I believe we need to import the view, so that should be imported. And now everything should work. So you don't even know the specifics of this code here, but the on-click listener is basically how you can tell when the button is clicked. So now when the button is clicked, the code that's inside this brace right here will run, and everything should be good. So now we need to figure out a function that we want to put in here so that it'll do stuff when the play button is clicked. So what better name to call it than play button clicked? So we can write protected void, and we can just do this right under on create new, play button clicked, and we can create that function, and it'll look very, very nice. So basically in play button clicked, what's going to happen is everything's going to change to the spot that it's supposed to be. So all of the different things are going to move to where they're supposed to be lined up when the person clicks play. So first off, we're going to actually change which of these are visible when we create the game. So that can be done very simply, and we're going to be constantly changing the visibility of these things as we go on, because sometimes we don't want the game over label to just be on the screen at all times when we're playing the game. So underneath all this, in the onCreateNew function, we can start by just writing pillar 1, we'll start here, set visibility, and then we can write view.invisible. So that'll just make it so that it's invisible, it's gone, you can't see it anymore. There's another one called gone, and that basically just means that it will basically no longer exist for that time being until you make it reappear. So things that are relative to it, they'll just get all messed up. So we don't want to use that one. So we can change these, we can write it 8 more times. And we can just change the numbers. Oops, we missed out here. 10. And then for everything else, we want to make them invisible except for certain things. Except for the play button, the logo, and I believe that's it. So we just want the play button and the logo. So I know the screens look a little plain. You can jazz it up with your own artwork. But for now, we just want to keep it simple. We're just working on the game for now. So we can actually copy and paste these and just type in what we want. So we want the ball. We want game over. We want retry button, scoreboard, score on board, all those score things. Retry button, scoreboard. Let me try score here. Let me copy and paste that. See there, when you don't put the capitalization, you get an error. High score on board, and I believe that is it, not board. So now everything should be good. It'll all be invisible when we start up. So I would show you this test, and actually we're going to run the emulator. So you're going to click run, and it should be automatic. But if not, in the video before, you should have been shown how to sync up with your Android virtual device. So that should be done already. But if you have any problems, this kind of gets a little cranky, I'd say sometimes, and it does take a while to load up. So I'll cut the video when it loads up. Alright, well, that worked. So here we go. We have Zaggy1 loaded, and when you click play, nothing happens, but it works. So here's the screen. Everything else is invisible, as we wrote down here. And there we go. So we're actually going to leave this open. It takes way too long. It took almost 10 minutes to open this thing, which is ridiculous. So leave it open, and then when you want to run it again, you can click it, and it will refresh instead of loading up again. So just leave it in the background, and we should be good. So now we're going to go into the play button clicked function. And when the play button clicks, we're going to want everything that we just said was invisible to be visible, and we're going to want the game over, not the game over, the logo and the play button to be invisible. So we can write set visibility, view.invisible, and we just write that again, and then we're going to make everything else visible except for the retry button and stuff, but we'll filter that out. So here we're going to make 3 spaces because we're going to write stuff in between there. And here we're going to get rid of the game over, the retry button, the high score on board, and the scoreboard. And everything else is going to be visible. So we can make these visible and get rid of the in, which is nice. So we just have to backspace twice. Okay, so now we're going to make the pillars and stuff. We're going to position them on the screen. Now, I have my Android virtual device set up. It is a Galaxy Nexus 5554. So if you want to set up the same as me, go for it. And these numbers are kind of catered towards that, but they're not going to differ too much if you have a different device put in. So here we're going to write pillar1.setX, and I'll explain what this means after 320. So basically, we're setting the x coordinate. If you don't know, x goes this way from left to right. So the higher the x goes, I'll demonstrate on the screen. The higher the x goes, the more it goes out into here. And the y goes up and down. So the higher the y goes, everything starts in the top left corner. It goes down. And from the x, it goes right. So we want it to get right about here in the center. So set x, we're setting the x coordinate. And then we can copy that. And then we can write set y. And we're going to make this 768. Very precise number. We can copy and paste these both. And we're going to set the ball down. So we want the ball to be right in the center of pillar 1. So we just write ball. And we're going to make the x 330. And the y is going to be 820. And then we're going to make the pillar 2 and pillar 3 in fixed coordinates every time. And then the rest of them are going to be random. And there's a reason for this. Pillar 2 and pillar 3, we want the ball to always go right. Now, in the beginning, in the game of Zigzag, there's this giant platform that you start on, and you can just move whatever direction you want. And here we don't have the giant platform, so we always start the ball off going right, and we want a couple of platforms so that the user doesn't automatically fall off right when they start. So here in set x, we're going to write in here pillar1.getX plus 78. Now what this is that it's getting the x value of pillar 1. We could have just inserted 320, so we could write 320 plus 78, or whatever that equals, 398. And we could do that, but I want to show you what pillar 1x getX does. So this basically returns this value. So wherever pillar 1 is, it returns that x value. And you guessed it, we're just going to write pillar 1 get y here. Same thing, get x, get y. And we're going to write minus 55. Okay, and then we're going to do the exact same thing for pillar 3, but instead of pillar 1, it's going to be pillar 2 on pillar 3. 3, 3, 2, 2. So that should be pretty good for now. And now we want the rest of the pillars to be random. So how do we do that? Well, we have to create a function, and we're going to name it. We're going to name it pillar position, or pillar placement, I believe it's called. And what this function is going to do is it's going to allow us to change the pillar position. It's just going to randomly do it for us. So whenever we want the pillars to be changed randomly, we can just call pillar placement, and it will automatically just do that. So below here, we're going to write a new function, and it's going to be called pillar placement. So we're going to name public float, and I'll tell you what it means in a second. Pillar placement. We're going to write x here, pillar placement x, because we need 2 of these things, one for x and one for y. Inside the parentheses here, we're going to write float x. So I'll tell you what this means. So basically, the other functions we said we had void, and that means that they're returning nothing. Here we have float, because we wanted to return the x value for where the pillar is supposed to be placed. And here it's taking in a value, so it's taking in the x value that the pillar is currently at, and it's going to return the x value where the pillar should be at. So we can just write return pillar new x, because we're going to be creating a variable called pillar new x. So here we can go up, and right in this line we can write float. We can declare a new float, 0. So basically what this does is we're just creating a new float, and we're going to use this float inside here. So just declaring a regular variable, we're calling it pillar new x, and this f after just makes this into a float. So you can just write f so it doesn't automatically become a double or just an integer. So here we're going to write int random, and we're going to write here int math. Now this is just a random function, but I'll explain to you what it does. So what this does is, you're trying to get a random number. We're going to store that random number in the integer random. So this is the function that will, or just the line of code that will generate a random number. And this is saying generate a random number between the numbers 1 and the number 2. So we want a number that's either 1 or 2. And that's going to be deciding the randomness. So if it's 1, the pillars are going to be placed on the right. If it's 2, it's going to be placed on the left, or vice versa. So this is how you write it. If you want to make it 1 to 3, you just write there. But we don't want that. We want 1 to 2. So now we can go down and say if random is equal to 1, then do something. But else, do the other thing. So we don't need to write else if random is equal to 2, because if random is not equal to 1, it's automatically equal to 2. We already know that. So in here we're going to write if x is greater than 600. And I'll explain everything after I write it. It's kind of hard to explain as you type. Pillar new x is equal to x minus 79. And else, pillar new x is equal to x plus 78. So basically, what this does is saying if the x value of the pillar is greater than 600, which I'll be here. So here's the thing, 600 is around right here where my mouse is. So if it's greater than 600, it means it's going to go off the screen. So if it's 600, then we want the pillar to move left. If it's not 600, we can make the pillar move right, because then it's probably around here. So it can go right, but if it goes up too close, it automatically moves left, so it doesn't go off the screen.